Madam Clerk, call the meeting to order, please.
Mayor Trubman,
Here.
Vice Mayor Samaria, Commissioner Johnson Sadella,
Here.
Commissioner Tudor,
Here.
Commissioner Wise,
Stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You okay?
Good evening. I call tonight's special commission meeting to inform the residents we are in the middle of village preparations for the storm in the sunshine with the commission present. 2 days ago, the governor declared a state of emergency, which included Miami-Dade County. Excuse me. Today, Mayor Jimenez officially declared Miami-Dade County a local state of emergency. Following suit and pursuant to state law, Miami-Dade County and the Village SEMP, at 5 p.m. today, I declared a state of emergency for the village of Biscayne Park. Make no mistake, Hurricane Dorian is a very serious threat to Florida and is forecasted to land as a Category 4 major hurricane. The village is in the cone of uncertainty. The manager, attorney, chief, commander, public works director, and all of our dedicated staff have been in full hurricane preparation mode. Excuse me. They are extremely busy ensuring the village is ready. Please note that many of the emergency management functions are with the county and not with the village. Staff has been attending EOC preparation briefings for the county. The manager has been coordinating all local pre-storm preparations and recovery plans. I must commend all the staff efforts on behalf of the village and its residents. The manager, department heads, and I will be attending state and county webinars and conferences as needed. The Public Works Manager asked me to advise residents not to place any debris in the right-of-way. If you have done so, remove it as they would become projectiles in high winds. Waste Pro will no longer likely be in the village until after the storm. Please refrain from trimming any vegetation until after the storm has passed and bulk trash pickup has resumed. Assuming we are impacted by the storm and winds remain high, bulk trash will not be picked up on Monday. The manager will let residents know when the trash pickup will resume. Regarding communication, the village is signed up for Everbridge for pushing out text messages and phone messages as well, and the manager will provide information on how that will work later on. As stated in yesterday's letter that was e-blasted out to the village, depending on the state of village infrastructure post-storm, the recreation center will likely be the community's cooling and information center. Signage will be posted in all government buildings, and village offices will open as quickly as possible. I encourage every resident to sign up for MDC text alerts by text Join MDC to 34292. Once again, that's Join MDC, or Ready MDC is also an app which we'll talk about, 34292 from the County Emergency Alert System. And if you didn't get that, don't worry, it'll be posted on the website. Also, the manager and I will be providing updates via email information e-blast. Please sign up if you have not already done so, going to the village's Biscayne Park website, selecting the Resident Services tab at the top of the page, and then select Sign Up for email updates. Please do not put yourself or our first responders in unnecessary danger. Do not go outside during or right after the storm. We will likely encounter power outages, broken water mains, blocked roads, and downed power lines. Please wait for the roads to be marked and cleared. Keep your family members away from standing water, downed trees, and power lines. Excuse me. Be aware of barricades or hazard tape and avoid those areas. If you have power outages, please report it to FPL at 1-800-4-OUTAGE. Once again, that's 1-800-4, the number 4, outage. Remember that 911 is for emergencies only. Otherwise, call Miami-Dade Police non-emergency number. And once again, everything I say in this evening will be posted on the website. Then that number is 305-476-5423. Once again, that's 305-476-5423. Do not call the police department directly because all calls must be routed through dispatch. If communications are down, look for posting on all government buildings: Village Hall, Log Cabin, Recreation Center, and Public Works. If you have questions, call 311 or go to www.8.miamidade.gov/emergency or download the Ready MDC app. The State Attorney General's office has set up an app for price gouging called No Scam. Once again, that's No Scam, which you can download to any mobile device. Please do not focus on the forecast track alone. For the safety of all, if you have not secured your homes, do so now. Do not wait. Now is the time to put up shutters if you do not have impact windows. If you have not obtained supplies for your family, yourself, pets, please do so now. Do not leave your pets in your homes. If you evacuate them, take them with you. It is a good idea to put cats and dogs in carriers during the storm. Please look out for your neighbor and one another. Regarding storm surge zones and potential evacuations, the village is within 2 storm surge zones that could result in evacuation orders by the county. The county is responsible for it, not the village. The announcements will come from the county, not the village. Those 2 zones are south of 119th Street is Zone C, which is the majority of the village. North of 119th Street is Zone D. What that means is that you are at greatest risk for storm surge, if you live in Zone C, and the storm is a Category 3 or higher. If you live in Zone D, which is north of 119th Street, you are at greatest risk for the storm surge if the storm is a Category 4 or higher. Hurricane Dorian is predicted to impact as a Category 4. Keep vigilant and listen to Miami-Dade County's emergency management updates regarding your storm surge zone and possible evacuations. Please do not rely on social media for disseminating accurate emergency management information. Know that staff is working hard to ensure your safety. I ask all those attending or watching this meeting to understand that when we are in a state of emergency and it's been declared, please be cognizant of staff task load. Staff is here to help and ensure the public's safety. Know that you can reach out to any of the commissioners and staff for assistance with safety issues post-storm. I ask that you help one another and take all precautions to stay safe. Please share any and all communications with your neighbors, especially those who do not have technology. Now we'll begin the meeting. Thank you. We're going to open the floor to public comments. Attorney, you want to read the decorum rules, please?
All comments must be addressed to the Commission as a body and not to individuals. Any person making impertinent or slanderous remarks or who becomes boisterous while addressing the Commission shall be barred from further audience before the Commission by the presiding officer, unless permission to continue or again address the Commission is granted by the majority vote of the Commission members present. No clapping, applauding, heckling, or verbal outbursts in support or in opposition to a speaker or his or her remarks shall be permitted. No signs or placards shall be allowed in the Commission chambers. Please mute or turn off your cell phone or pager at the start of the meeting. Failure to do so may result in being barred from the meeting. Persons exiting the chamber shall do so quietly.
Open the floor for public comments. Madam Clerk, do you want to call? Did you have a sign-in sheet? Nobody signed in. Okay, thank you. Close the floor for public comments. You have okay. Go ahead.
Chuck Rossman, 1166 Griffin Boulevard. So from what I understand, we're going to use Everbridge as a notification system or emergency. Tracy, I'm talking. Can you?
Go ahead.
Okay, you listening? Okay. Is that correct? And Christian's going to explain to us exactly how we're going to sign up. Is that right?
There actually isn't. You don't need to sign up for it. We've got a geo tracker on there that geolocates all landlines through the village. And so for emergency notifications, we can push to that.
What about cell phones?
And the state just downloaded the cell phones today. I've not tested that yet, but hopefully that will be working. And so.
Hopefully is right. Okay, so other than that, if that doesn't work, somebody's going to comment. If that doesn't work, what is plan B to get the message out to the people?
Okay, we'll address that.
Okay.
So keep
well,
going, please.
okay, so good. Next thing would be you mentioned a couple of things as far as NBC 34292. What is that exactly? Are you going to explain that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. One of the things, as far as the subject of tonight's meeting, that I don't understand is why it took so long to get to this point. Apparently, I've been asking Christian for several months about this. Apparently, this thing was signed May 1st. Why didn't you just tell me? Why do you make me keep asking and not answer me? I don't understand. May 1st. I've written you probably eight emails on this meeting tonight. 8, 7, I don't know, a lot, about the monitoring company. And you never responded to me. I don't understand. And I don't know why we didn't do this in June or July, but I'm not going to delay this anymore. I assume Paul's here because we might need to activate a line of credit. Is that why you're here? Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
MacDonald Kennedy, 11705 Northeast 11th Place. Yeah, I'm kind of interested to hear why a special meeting was called for this as well, when this is something you guys supposedly have been working on for, I don't know, months. And you have one bid here to look at, so I guess you're going to sign the one and only bid that you got. So it's kind of the default bid. Seems really odd that you waited this long and had to call a special meeting for this one. Everyone knows hurricane season is June 1 to November 30th. It seems to me an effective and organized village manager would have this done before hurricane season started, not 48 hours before the first storm is supposed to hit the village. But I guess that's Biscayne Park style, Christian Manor style. So when the storm passes and we're all cleaned up, and let's all hope that it, avoids us somehow. And every time I think that, I am reminded that I'm wishing it on someone else, which is not cool, but it's got to hit somebody, I suppose. I have a suggestion for you guys. Before Betsy tries to prosecute the case of abusive public records requests, and before Will tries to rewrite the charter that you ignore anyway, and before Rebecca tries to save Christian from the ethics investigation, and before Betsy builds Splash Mountain, and before Tracy sues Dan Samaria, before Tracy spends hours counting how many emails I've sent to the village, and before Tracy spends hours and hours and hours in private meetings with Rebecca, racking up enormous legal bills that are completely unexplained to us, before Christian schemes new ways to harass residents with bogus code violations, and before Tracy tries to concoct new ways to violate the First Amendment of our Constitution, here's the suggestion for you guys. Put your heads together and come up with a comprehensive, strategic, and smart communications plan for this village. 2 years ago, we got smacked in the ass by Irma, and it was a tropical storm. I think you can handle the word ass. Relax.
I think you can appropriately not use that word. Thank you. I'm asking you not to do that. Thank you.
Good grief. We got smacked upside the head by Irma, and you guys sat here for 2 years and did nothing. Nothing to make the next one any better. You sat here and did nothing. It's like it never happened. It's like Irma never happened. It's like we don't live in the hurricane zone where this is likely to happen every year. Sometimes, multiple times a year. And you guys sat here and ignored it, and I guess just wished it would go away and the possibility wouldn't happen again. And here we sit hours before a storm hits, and you're going to write a contract to cover your butts so you don't get yourself in trouble again the next time. And you have no plan to communicate with residents in this village about what could turn out to be. She talked over me. I'm taking a couple extra seconds, Roseanne. It's cool. You have no way to communicate with residents in an effective and smart way. That's what you need to work on. Not all the other myriad silly, stupid things that you work on.
Mr. Kennedy, please.
You need to work on that.
Thank you.
Somebody left this up here.
Rox Ross, 11166 Griffin Boulevard. I reviewed the backup to the agenda for tonight and noted that this one company has contracts already with Jacksonville Beach and I forgot another city in Florida. And I wonder if anyone's looked into those contracts and if perhaps we could piggyback on what was already a bidded out contract and get better pricing through economy of scales for those larger cities. Anyone?
Can you pause your time and
Yes, could you pause the time, please, and allow the attorney to... Thank you.
FEMA frowns upon piggybacking. It's not necessarily something that would deobligate our expenses, but it would probably result in a FEMA appeal because they kick back most claims that were piggybacked.
I understand that, but given that it is the only person, the only qualified bidder that we're looking at and considering, it's a negotiating point if they already have a contract with some other cities and you might get better pricing. I'm just asking because it seems like the prudent thing to do.
Thank you.
We already went through the process of bidding out, so we've met the obligation, the FEMA obligation. Why not take advantage of other things?
Thank you.
David Raymond, 11520 Northeast 9th Avenue. Hi, everybody. So first of all, I wanted to thank David Hernandez and his staff for coming out and doing some proactive things. They cleaned our drain. This is the first time I didn't have to call about our drain. And he sent me a picture of it being cleaned out, so thank you for that. And they also, Waste Pro missed our street this week and had some equipment failure, and he got that picked up today as well. So thanks for that. So the question I have is, for the seniors, I know that there's some steps in place and some list in place, and while the forecast now is looking much better than it was this morning, that maybe we'll just get brushed and maybe it won't be so bad. I just wonder if there's seniors who need things, help around. They to go shopping or to put something up. Hopefully you're not going to have to put all your shutters up now, but we'll see by tomorrow morning. But are there people who are in those circumstances, or people with disabilities? And if so, how can residents help?
I'm going to let the chief address that, if I may, if you pause the clock. Chief?
Actually, I can address that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we do have a list of seniors and some, elderly and infirm people that may need help here, and we keep the list. It's certainly not comprehensive. So if you as a resident know of a neighbor or something like that, please feel free to jump in and help them, or let us know so we can. Meanwhile, we've got our list, and we will have police going by prior to the hurricane to find out their needs to make sure that they are taken care of, as well as electeds.
Okay. So. And if there are people who need, like, a ride to the grocery store or something, do we have that kind of interaction, or is it more about them just kind of being safe in their house? Or
it's more about them trying to be safe in their house. We have a few very kind people that volunteered to do stuff like that, to help people out and take them to the grocery store, that sort of thing. I know Mylan, our receptionist, she does that for several elderly residents here in the village, and brings in, comes in on Saturdays on her time and does that.
Sure.
So if you know of someone, please just let us know. We certainly don't claim to know of everyone, but those who have been reported or self-reported to us are on our list, and we are doing our best with it.
Okay, thank you. And if you need help with people you encounter, I'm not working anymore, so anyway,
If you would like to volunteer, I will add your name. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David.
Barbara Kuehl, 111th Street. Yeah, in the past, that was always a big emphasis in the village, asking people to sign up if they did need help with putting up, bringing in lawn furniture, something like that. And it seems like a lot of things I've been writing to you about this week, it's been lacking. And I'm not going to even bother going into it. If you didn't read my emails, it's your problem. But I think all of us in the community have been talking about what should have been done. And maybe at the very last minute, some of the things have been addressed. But for me, one of the biggest things that hasn't been addressed are the medians. And last hurricane, or not even the Hurricane Irma, I walked over to the rec center and I saw Christian, and I said, Christian, what's happening with the debris? Where are people supposed to put the debris? Is anything supposed to go on the median? And he said, sure, put it on the median, tell everybody just put it on the median, which resulted in our medians having walls of debris. Honestly, when your house has tree damage, it's your responsibility. It should be the homeowner's responsibility not to drag everything in their yard over to the median and destroy what is left of the medians, but to take care of it. And I can, not every house has a median, so it really isn't even fair that the people who live on streets that don't have medians are stuck living with their debris like we all used to do. But this village needed a policy. Parks and Parkways for 2 years has been saying we were trying to get an ordinance which might have been useless because nothing seems to be enforced here. But at least there should be some type of direction from this community to say, if something goes down in your yard, keep it in your yard. Do not drag this on the median. It's not a dumping place. But if everybody follows last year's directions, or 2 years ago, they'll be dragging everything out on the median again. And that, I haven't seen one word about that. And it's true, I don't get most of the things the village sends out for some unknown reason. But you need to address the medians. It's one of our most valuable things in this village, and they're going to be ruined once again if everything is dragged onto them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Janie Anderson, 11th Place, 119th Street. If I understood Tracy correctly, you said Waste Pro will not be in the village anymore. I certainly hope that's not true, because for those of you who don't know, they had their second equipment failure this week, the corner of 121st and 11th Place. And the poor guys, because I don't know where the supervisor was, at least with the pickup, he could have picked up the recycling. They were going up and down by hand and dragging it back to the truck, and I believe there are probably areas that haven't been picked up yet. So I sure hope they're coming back in here tomorrow.
I'll answer that if I may pause the clock, please. My understanding is they will be back, but the part of the issue is they're going to be back to pick up the remainder, and that's correct. Correct, Mr.? Okay. But the problem is that some people are now taking and emptying out everything under the sun and putting out expecting people that bulk.
No, I'm talking about the stuff we had the right
absolutely.
to put out.
They're going to be doing that, yes.
Now, and this just...
Let's start the clock, thank you.
This just begs the question, why did we blow the deadline for the RFP? Waste Pro has not lived up to the promise they made multiple times in 2014. We'd never have equipment failures, and we'd never have manpower issues because they were big enough. Well, obviously when you have two in the same week, and it hasn't been that long since the last one's happened, they're not living up to what they promised, but they don't have to because we don't even have the potential for another choice. That's a separate issue. I totally agree with what Max said. The idea that 2 years after Irma, we are in what I can only describe as paralysis by analysis. We hear about the need for procedure ordinances. We have attorney time, reading the decorum rules. We go through all this drama when, a little initiative and a little common sense, and we would have the basis of a communication plan. It doesn't require ordinances and multiple workshops. It's just the initiative to get it done. But here we sit 2 years later, having heard a lot of talk for 2 years, and no action.
Thank you. Anybody else, public comments?
Hi, Brad Piper, 1008 Northeast 116th Street. There's not a whole lot more I can actually say that hasn't already been said, but one of the things I would like to say is that being married to a meteorologist, I think hurricane preparedness would be management 101. And Christian, I think you are failing miserably. You've had 2 years. Not only that, you worked for this community before you became village manager. It's a disgrace, and it's actually a risk. It's a hazard. It's a life safety hazard, and you're not doing the residents of this community any service. As far as this last minute bid, do you have any negotiating leverage when you're not bidding this stuff out? How professional is that? I mean, is that really anything that anybody, any real city would do. Any city that's professional would just sit and let anybody come in and not take bids and not price things out. I don't really.
May I address that? Can you pause the clock, please, for me? Thank you. I just want to address it because there's a couple of statements you're making that I don't think are correct, and that is, when you put out an RFP, who responds is who you have, and I'll have the manager address it at the time we discuss it, but I just want to be clear. We put out an RFP, and the only person that did respond to that at all was
When did the
DeBrew Tech.
RFP go out?
I'm going to let that happen when we do the discussion item, but I just wanted to clarify because that part was not erroneous. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead and continue.
No,
Thank you.
fair enough. And also what I'd like to mention as well is we do live in a hurricane zone, South Florida. You know better. Every one of us knows better. The other thing, I've seen a lot of waste, especially with attorney fees. And I think some of this waste and some of the spending you could actually be using in preparation for what we may be going through in the near future. It's really sad. I mean, this afternoon I was walking the dog by the rec center and somebody asked me, are they going to be handing out water at the rec center? I guess you did that 2 years ago. Just little things, older people. People need some direction, and they don't see it. We just received an email from Tracy, yesterday?
That's correct.
That was it.
28.
If we had a newsletter, you could have had a hurricane preparation section in this newsletter that went out over the last, once a quarter, so people actually had something they could post on their fridge. Preparation. And that goes with being a city manager. And if we want to come across as being, prepared, these are all things that you guys need to look at. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fred Jonas, 918 119th Street. I understand that it puts us in a disadvantageous position when we put out an RFP and we only get one reply. But if we put out that RFP and we only get one reply, let's say 2 years or so ago, then we can change the RFP. We can look at what we did that failed to attract more interest. We can put it out again. But when you wait until the last minute, this is what you get. And just to sort of re-summarize Janie's point and Brad's point, what we're missing is any sense of real municipal management. And I know it's sort of a popular thing right now to unload all of this on Christian. I generally have resisted doing that because I don't think it's Christian's fault. I don't think he manages because he's not allowed to manage. For whatever reason, and it's still a real head scratcher, 3 years or so ago, Tracy decided she could manage a municipality and put in an application to manage this one, which is about as crazy as humanly possible. And her application was thrown out immediately because she has no relevant credentials and no relevant experience. And she finds herself now managing the village anyway. She just tells everybody what to do, bumbles along, waits till the last minute. It gets too late, things get done wrong, and it's just not a right way to handle a municipality. I mean, if you can't think of anything else, we pay a lot of taxes here. We're entitled to better than this.
Thank you, but I will respond to that briefly. The assumptions you're making are false, and that false narrative is something you want to do. I'm not going to waste time in an emergency situation to answer them. Thank you. Anybody else for public comments? Sure. You're welcome to.
My name is Kate Eaton, 11535 Northeast 8th Avenue. We've lived in the village a little over 4 years, from Denver, Colorado, so big shift, and hurricanes are quite frightening for me. And I'm so excited to be able to come tonight because you guys are my neighbors. And we've, in our first few years of being here, we've had to be very inwardly focused, my husband with his position and me, and just trying to figure out how to refurbish a home. So I haven't really been able to make my way around except to a few of you. And but I just wanted to offer my experience of living here my first year. I didn't realize that living in a village meant you had to get permits for things, so I got busted almost every day. And I was shocked because in Colorado, when you do something to your house, you just do it. But that's not what you do here. And now I have great respect. But I was pretty furious almost every day. And I was like, well, how did we end up moving here? And what's going on? And I was mad at the police. And I think I was even mad at Christian. And I was mad at everybody. And I'm not usually mad at people. So I had a really rough first couple of years. But what I wanted to share with you today is that I've had very positive experiences with Christian, and I know we all have our experiences, and some good, some not so good, but I just wanted to voice those, that there was a time when our recycling bin was stolen, and so my husband called the office and said, this has happened, how do we get another one? And that afternoon we had another one. And so we were just really grateful for that. And there have been several other things that have come up where Christian has been very responsive. Tracy lives cat-a-corner from us, and we were out of town for something, and our alarm was tripped because we left our back door ajar and didn't realize that. Stupid. So the police were all over the house, and Tracy reached out to us and let us know. So I just wanted to offer that because I know I get all the difficult things because I've worked for organizations when things aren't going well, and how frustrating that is, and that you have to lay out very honestly what hasn't gone well. So I have respect for all of you here, and I just wanted to offer my experience so far. So.
Thank you so much. Any other public comments? Okay, we'll close to public comments. Is there a motion to approve the balance of the consent?
No, we're going to have a discussion about it before we
If you want to pull the item, you have to pull the item.
pull the item, have a discussion.
Okay, item 5D, Resolution 2019-20, debris monitoring has been pulled. Before we go ahead and do that, I'm going to let manager go ahead and address that item since it's your item. Thank you. Excuse me, if you don't mind, please. Thank you.
Absolutely. This is for debris monitoring services. We did run an RFP. It ran in April. We have been going back and forth with Debris Tech and negotiating. We only received the one response for a bid, and that was from Debris Tech. We did look at other municipalities and what they're paying, and this is below most of those. I've met with Debris Tech personally. They have the technology far beyond what we had with BC Peabody and experience. Their references checked out, and so I'm very pleased to be able to offer them to the village. I think their services will exceed what we've had before and do the village justice, as well as helping us move along after a hurricane with our recovery. So.
Thank you. We'll go around the commissioners and start here and see if there's any questions from Commissioner Johnson-Sodella.
I don't have any questions with regard to that.
Thank you. Vice Mayor. No, but we're going to go in order, please. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. This item tonight I'm going to support because I don't have a choice. There was no other bids. But I have concerns and questions on how this process worked. I find it hard to believe that none of the commissioners up here don't have a problem of receiving this bid 24 hours before this meeting. This was put out in April and it was closed on May 3rd. we had only one company that gave this bid. I don't understand why this was not brought back to the commission June, July, and August and explained that we only had one bid. We could have put out another bid and try to see if we can get other people. Why didn't we use the company that we had before? Were they ever given an opportunity that we had 2 years ago? Why didn't Nate Atkins from North Miami, I don't know if the question was asked why they didn't put a bid. They did one from North Miami. Does this start the monitoring right away? When the hurricane starts, they start the process right away, right?
Okay, you've thrown down several questions here, so let me start answering them, okay?
Yes, sir.
Go with the first one, please.
Okay, the first one was, this bid was put out in April,
Yes.
and the bid was closed on May 3rd.
Yes.
Why wasn't it brought back to the commission June, July, and August, that we only had one bid?
We were doing our research and we were going back and forth. I mean, I told the commissioners we only had one bid.
Yep.
That's not been a secret.
I haven't been told that there was one bid.
I believe I've mentioned it, but
No, I was never told there was one bid.
well, that is the case. And so the rest of the time we were negotiating back and forth and trying to make sure that, all of our I's were dotted and our T's were crossed with this. When it got to the point that we were ready to move forward, we did. Next question.
Okay.
Peabody, why didn't you select Peabody was the next question.
Why did we use BC Peabody? I was not pleased with their work last time. There was a lot of work that we had to do as far as chasing them to get more information and so forth. Debris Tech is technologically much more advanced. They have iPads that will snap a photo, post it with the longitude and latitude, the materials that FEMA requires. They're able to produce reports in various and sundry formats. They tend to, from what I've been told by their references, they exceed what FEMA is looking for as far as their abilities to produce. So they're a far better company. That's why we didn't go with BC Peabody. As for the company in North Miami, Debris Tech charge less than they do. They're cheaper. Next question.
Okay. Why was this given to the commission? I mean, there's so much stuff in here. First off, the FEMA book, which I don't understand why the whole FEMA book was put in here. Why was this given to the commission 24 hours before? Couldn't you have brought it back in July? If you only have one bid, you already know you're going to go with that company, right?
You want to address that, Rebecca?
Yes, we've been negotiating.
I'm sorry, I'm going to make you do the, yep.
Thank you. We've been negotiating with this company for some time, and on certain, in my opinion, deal breakers, they didn't cave until very recently, and it probably would have been on the regular meeting in September's agenda, but we don't have that kind of time. So once the governor declared a state of emergency for Miami-Dade County on Wednesday afternoon at 4 something, we said we have to get this before the commission this week, and that's why that happened. And there were certain items in the original proposed contract that were deal breakers for this village. They caved on those recently because we have been actively negotiating with them. Again, it was the only bid received. And with respect to going outside of the sealed bid process, again, FEMA frowns upon that. We have to remember that everything we're doing with this procurement is to get this money back if you end up having to utilize this vendor after the storm. And FEMA frowns upon doing a sealed bid process and then going with a vendor that didn't submit a sealed bid, especially when the rates that are provided in the sealed bid are substantially lower for the market. I think that answers most of those questions.
Any further questions?
Okay, this bid fits the requirements of FEMA. They have no
Yes.
problem with it, right?
Now, yes.
What do you mean now?
We've been negotiating with them. Okay, I'll give you an example. One of the items that was in the original agreement they proposed was they wanted the village to pay for any lodging and food if they had to ship in people from out of state to do the monitoring for us. That would have been a substantial amount of money for the village residents if we didn't push back on that. This is a company out of Mississippi, which was something that was a con. So we had to push back on that and say, you need to eat that expense if we go with you. And there was back and forth on that. And we ultimately prevailed on that. But the village wouldn't have been reimbursed by FEMA for those expenses. So we were trying to work with them. They were the only sealed bid we received in response to the RFP. Negotiate an agreement that would protect the village, comply with FEMA, but still work for them to do the service for us. And I think we finally got there.
And absolutely, Vice Mayor, mission accomplished on that. Next question.
Okay. Please, Mr. Krishnan, please don't give me the snotty look every time I look.
Excuse me.
There's no look here.
Vice Mayor, please.
I'm doing my job, and I'm asking the questions here.
Absolutely.
One of the problems that I have, and I'd like to know why the attorney was sending out to the commission's emails about this FEMA. That's the city manager's job. I got 5 emails from the attorney. Are you billing us for those emails that you sent out? One about telling about the state of Florida declaring an emergency. That should be coming from the city manager, not from the attorney.
No, that puts certain legal obligations upon the village, and as soon as I found out, I let everyone know. I think I found out before anyone on the dais found out, and I let you all know immediately because it changes things. And I'm not going to apologize for that. That's me doing my job under the charter.
So you're going to bill us that?
I didn't bill for that.
That's not the question I asked. I'm asking you. Are you not going to bill us?
I just answered it. I said
okay.
I didn't bill
That's
for
all
that.
I want to know. Okay. Again, I don't have it. I mean, I read this and I was up most of the night, but I do have a business to run. I don't like getting something 24 hours before a meeting, and I still don't understand why this wasn't brought in front of the commission before time. It could have been brought up in August. It could have been brought up in July. Even if you'd given us...
It wasn't ready to come before commission at that point.
You could have given us an update. You didn't give us an update. Why all of a sudden now it's ready 24 hours before the thing?
No, we had a hurricane. We were pushing it. Absolutely. That definitely moved things forward this week.
Like I said, I have to support this because I don't have a choice, but I'm really, I have a major problem with this. This continues to keep on happening when we continue to keep on getting stuff at the last minute. And I really don't appreciate getting that.
And if I'm sorry, I don't mind, but I just want to make sure Commissioner Tudor is okay because I want to do one round before I come back.
No, it's fine.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment on the timing of this. I know the RFP went out in April. I guess I can ask the question as to why it didn't go out before that. And I can understand that while you're negotiating, you may not want these meetings are public. People are going to make public comments. It might affect negotiations, but if maybe in the future, even if something's not ready to come before the commission, we could just be advised that, look, we're in the process of X, we're negotiating, without giving details, but to keep us on notice that we're still trying to push things through so that it doesn't appear as if 24 hours before a storm. I understand that this is just where we are right now because of the emergency, but I think what we're feeling is just if we were given just some sort of notice that we're doing these things and we're trying to push them through. I'm saying a statement publicly.
You mean in the meeting versus, because I know when I have meetings, when I meet with the manager, I ask about these things and he updates me. So I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is, and I don't recall who I've spoken to and who I haven't on this. I thought I had mentioned it at a public meeting, apparently not. But either way, there is the cone of silence that goes through a portion of this. And after that, once,
disclosing things, but just making a statement during a public meeting saying,
yes. Well, please come in and meet with me once a week, and we'll be glad to share more. Okay? So.
Excuse me. I'm going to ask everybody to please. I know. Excuse me. There are a lot of long hours going here. A lot of people doing a lot of hurricane prep. There's a lot of stress. Everybody, please be respectful of one another, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioner Tudor.
No, I understand. I know during our meetings, it's been we've had a conversation about only having the one bid, and I can understand some of my fellow commissioners' comments about maybe finding a better way to communicate that to the commission so we know where we're at in the process without getting out too many details. I also wish that I had this a little bit more in advance, but looking through it and looking at the comparisons to North Miami and understanding how the process can go along with contract negotiations. In a perfect world, we'd have more time. But
In a better
this
staff world, we have more time.
This isn't a perfect world. So, I think we're going to have to move forward on approving this.
You want to make the motion?
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2019-20 for the debris monitoring services.
Is there a second to that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry. There was a couple questions. I'm going to be asked to be respectful. If you cannot be, please take it outside.
We had questions
There,
about communication.
excuse me. I'm not going to ask again.
I want to hear about
I'll put those comments on the record. We're going to go ahead and.
Madam Mayor,
Excuse me.
can I get recognized for a second?
Just a moment till I have to. No, you can stay there, Chief. I'm just going to have to go ahead and. We'll call meeting back to order. It's. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Chief. You are
Madam Mayor,
recognized.
as you know, the commissioners have been.
Make sure you speak to the mic, Chief.
That we've been working for several days on this hurricane plan. We've been working on it actually since I got here from the city. I am going to, one of the responsibilities we're going to bear, everybody has responsibilities, is, making sure that I'm able to respond to incidents and incident command and the management. I am pleading with everybody. We're really, really tight on times as for me to get some objectives met. I've always been an advocate of due process and the law, and I will always continue in that path. So I plead that I need to get people out there. I need to get some things accomplished, and the longer we're here, the more. And Brad was, Mr. Piper, my apologies, was stating the longer we're here, we're delaying this. It's taking away from the time that we really need. So what I'm just saying. No, what I'm just saying is, I said that you were saying that certain objectives need to be met when we're getting closer to a hurricane. I agree with you, and so I'm asking, please, everybody, let's go through due process and express themselves, but let's just get this going. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. I would want to answer one question that was asked early regarding Miami-Dade County's app. There is an app that you can sign up for, so I'm going to repeat that information before we adjourn. I will also make sure that all of this information is on the website, and also what I'm going to be doing once I leave here tonight is making sure all of this information is pushed out regularly. The 311, and I said before, Miami-Dade County is the agency responsible for emergency management, not the village. That doesn't mean the village doesn't participate in that. It just means that all evacuations are called by the county, and it really is Mayor Jimenez's and the emergency management's role to do that. I am concerned that if the cone, if it takes a change and it comes more for us, we are going to be in an evacuation situation. And that's what everybody in the village needs to be aware and keep watching, because a little jaunt one way or the other will change that outcome. Even though it's just like Andrew in the sense that it was narrow, and that it's a narrow storm, but it's slower, and where it stays, it also will stay and do a lot more damage. And so the concern of the chief, Public Works, the manager, and they've been working incredibly long hours trying to make sure we have everything done. Just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it isn't happening. However, I'm asking politely. However, if you go to 311, you can get information. If you go to www.8miamidade.gov/emergency, you can also download the app, Ready MDC app. I've downloaded it. There's opt-in and out instructions on that as well. If you go to the Miami-Dade County website, it'll walk you through all of that, and it'll give you pushes to it. Also with the Everbridge system, which Commissioner Tudor, I thank you for making sure you brought that forth. That was a great item, and managers making sure that that's working, but we don't, having not used it, until it works, it doesn't work. So we don't want you to totally rely on that. If we go back to the horse and buggy routine like we did last time, I want everybody to know, if you don't know what's going on, go to any government building. There'll be postings on there and where to go. As soon as the road has been pushed, the roads have been cleared, the barricades have been put up, then go out, that's fine. But if you see barricades, please, I saw people last storm literally jumping over like a jogger over live wires. So I'm asking, you see a tree down, there's likely to be pipes or wires associated with it. So stay away from standing water, down trees, down power lines, or any barricades. If you need to get through something and you're not sure, you can always, there's going to be a lot of police out there. You can always wave them down or go down to the rec center or the village hall, and you can make sure that you get information about how you can get in your house if there's an issue. We can't tell you everything because we don't know. We don't know until it happens as to how we're going to respond. But I assure you, I absolutely assure you, that everybody here is working everything they can to make you as safe as humanly possible. And that is, and I mean that from the manager, the public works director, the chief, the commander, everybody, all the staff members have come in and are working tirelessly to make sure you're safe. If you have any questions, you have all the phone numbers that were sent out in the email, call. I have no problem taking calls. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
He did discuss the Everbridge, and he said it was going to push. I'm sorry.
I'll be glad to discuss
Would
that.
you like to discuss it
Sure.
first before adjourn? Okay.
I mean, Everbridge it's a state system that we're working with. It costs us nothing. What it will do is it allows us to make voice messages that will be pushed out to landlines and cell phones, hopefully. Again, the state and Everbridge just got those phone numbers in today. They were uploading them into the database today, so we're anticipating that will work. I mean, the rest of it has. They know what they're doing, so we're working on that now. So, no, not yet, not with us, but we're getting set up for it, so it'll be ready by the hurricane. So,
Can I make an
Yes, please, Attorney Rodriguez.
So state law requires that we have a comprehensive emergency management plan as a municipality, but we are subject to the county's comprehensive emergency management plan. And what that means is that when the county declares a state of emergency, we have to activate. That's what happened today. But we knew that was going to happen, so all week we have been in communication. The chief's been attending briefings with the county's emergency operations centers, which is known as the EOCs. Our local one is City of North Miami. We've been working with Senator Scott's office.
Senator Scott, Jason Piso, Frederica Wilson. Who have I missed?
Jared Moskowitz,
yes,
who's FDEM. And I'm pushing forward information as I receive them for the benefit of the commission. But the chief, the manager, public works, Paul, we've been working on prep all week. Paul made sure that the employees were paid early in case anything was shut down. So the payroll went out a little early this week, just in case. We've been waiting to see what the county does, but we haven't been sitting on our hands. I mean, we've been working all day and all night, all week, preparing for this. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes. So now that we are officially activated and we are in a state of emergency in alignment with the county, a lot of things are starting to happen, and we've been preparing for that all week.
I mean, I'll just say I was on a conference call this afternoon with FDEM on the new rules for projects. They're trying to change how the reimbursement process works, the project reimbursement process, and they're hoping to streamline it. I won't repeat the date because I don't believe it, but if you believe it, they'll be processing it much quicker than Irma, which has taken 2 years. Everybody's aware that that is a big problem. Miami-Dade County has been they've not been reimbursed. It's just been a really big problem the way Irma was held from a federal level. And go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I'll just finish this thought. So I know that they're working to change that because it is an incredible fiscal burden on all municipalities, the 200 that were denied. And so this has become a federal level political problem because we were not promptly reimbursed, or the process was made a bit litigious. I'll say it that way.
We did the process correctly to
There was,
begin with.
that's why let me please. The first project was funded because it was done correctly. However, one of the things we've changed, if you'll be at least courteous enough to listen, then I'll address it. If not, I won't. But if the first project would not have been funded, it was funded on the same grounds. So the assumption you're making that there was something wrong in why we had the appeal. 200 cities had an appeal. Federal was not going to release the money, and I'm not going to get into why, because I don't want to have an issue with the federal government as to why they did their choices. But that was done at a federal level. Okay, the state completely supported our projects. There was nothing we did wrong in the projects. They denied 200 cities. They denied, I think Miami-Dade was $200 million they held. They still don't have. El Portel had everything done, and they still don't have their money. I talked to the mayor, I think it was 2 days ago. They still don't have their money, and they had everything obligated, and it's been a year and a half since it was obligated. So there are issues that, while you may want to simplify it and make it a narrative that you want, the reality is that there's a problem with what was going on at a federal level. And so until that's addressed, I can't fix something at a federal level. But what we do here, and what I will tell you, I really must commend Attorney Rodriguez for the work she's done to make sure every I is crossed, every T, there's not an ounce that we haven't done, that we're not completely in lockstep with everything the federal government requires. And I wish we had done that better previously and had better legal advice then.
Circling.
Attorney Rodriguez.
I want to let everyone, if you take nothing from this meeting except this, please sign up for the county text alerts.
Yep.
And if Mayor, before we adjourn, if you could repeat it, and I'll tell you why. There's 18 emergency support functions that every government's supposed to have. Not all of them sit with the village. They don't. So you will be getting some updates from the Everbridge and from the website, but a lot of them are going to come from the county. A lot of this municipalities' ESFs come from the county, particularly because you don't have your own fire rescue. You use county fire rescue. Storm surge updates, you are in storm surge zones. Those updates are going to come from the county. If there is a storm surge evacuation order, it will not come from the village, it will come from the county. So I encourage all of you to sign up for the county's text alerts as well, because that is about half of the communication updates applicable to this jurisdiction's recovery and response.
Well, Rebecca, you're completely arguing my point that a comprehensive plan would have shared all that wonderful information that you just said so eloquently. I never knew any of that. And as a resident of this village, it's Christian's job to make sure...
Okay, no, I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry, that's it. Is there a motion to adjourn, please?
Well, let me just respond, because I want people to leave with the info.
Excuse me, Attorney Rodriguez, in all due respect here, if I do that, then we have to open up for everybody, and that's, let me finish. And that's the problem.
You're the presiding officer, I just wanted to...
People care enough to show up. Why not have a conversation?
Excuse me. If there's something, I'm not going to have public comments open up. If there's something you want to address that you think you need to address, I'm going to let you do it.
Before we adjourn, I'd really like to repeat that how they can sign up for text alerts, because it's extremely important. Your evacuation...
Stop.
Let
her finish.
If I may, the mayor wanted to call this meeting on Monday, and we said we have to wait to see what the county mayor does.
I did. I tried to call the meeting on Monday. I tried to have it earlier.
I said, wait, we need to, it could turn. Once we activate and declare a state of emergency, a lot of things happen behind the scenes, financially, with overtime, with essential personnel. So we've been having meetings all week in preparation for Mayor Jimenez declaring a state of emergency at the county level. And he did that today, and here we are. So this is the information that I want to make sure you guys, don't leave with anything else. Please sign up for the county text alerts. A lot of that stuff is we can't give you because we don't.
And if you look at the letter that I sent out 2 days ago, on the bottom it tells you how to do that. It tells you how to opt in, but I will repeat it. Please allow me to repeat it. To join MDC, you put the code in 34. You dial the code 34292. To opt out, you can opt out by putting stop back to the same exact code, or you can opt in. It will cease. If you have any questions, I'll make sure that step-by-step instructions are on the website so you can find them. Okay? Yes, and I'll be happy. I'll tell you what I'll do. Just to be fair to everybody, I'll be happy to stay personally and answer any questions that you need, so that way you can have anything that you need personally. But I cannot open up again for public comments. I'm sorry. Is there?
In the future, please, City Manager, in the future, can you please keep the rest of the commissioners informed, not just the mayor? The rest of the commissioners, there's 5 commissioners here. I shouldn't have to come to you to answer.
Okay.
Please, don't interrupt me again. Thank you. Please, I would like to be informed of what's going on. I don't know any of the stuff that's going on.
And here's my problem. Every time you come up here, and this is my last comment because they have to get to work. We have an emergency here. But if you want to play gotcha, you can on the dais. Or you can meet with the manager, come up with your questions, and ask him before. So, Mr. Manager, did he ever come and ask you any of these questions prior to the night? No. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll restate my motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.